Hey there, in this video, I'm going to talk about my biggest expense for the year. It was a thrill to spend this money and I probably got the very best value for dollar. And that expense was my mom's 70th birthday party. And I was thrilled to have this expense. But to be honest, it was something I was thinking about all year long. So I'm going to break down how much I spent and what I spent it on. So this is the story of kind of my thought process behind it. So my mom turned 70 this year and I feel so lucky and blessed and thankful to be able to celebrate her birthday with her. And I wanted to make it special and memorable. I also wanted to do it within my budget, but I didn't want to go into debt to do it. That was the most important thing. So I have been thinking about this again all year and how I wanted to celebrate it. And there were a couple different options, right? Of course, she loves traveling, and in a perfect world, my dream would have been to send her on a trip, right, for her 70th, or to go on a trip with her and have that experience. Budget being what it is, that just wasn't a possibility right now. At some point in the future, it is my dream goal plan to be able to send her on a trip for a milestone birthday. At this point, that wasn't, again, in the budget how we wanted to do it, but she has so many friends and she's cultivated so many friendships with people here locally. She's in so many community groups and she meets with people and has such great relationships that I thought the next best thing to do would be to have a party here. So that is what we planned to do, was a dinner party, and that's sort of what we decided. So deciding on a dinner party was kind of the first step, deciding what we were going to do. Then kind of working out the budget and how we were going to do it was the next step. And that part was, I'm going to say, it took some planning, and I am not a party person at all. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I knew I wanted to do it because I wanted to celebrate my mom. And I actually have memories of celebrating my grandmother's 70th birthday party. And now that my daughter's here, I wanted her to be part of it. So I was excited to do that. So knowing that we wanted to do a dinner party, breaking it down was the next step. So I knew I wanted to do it in a restaurant because I didn't want to do it at our home. I wanted to do it a place where they're professionals and where they professionally, do parties and host food. So that's what we did. And to be honest, that took, I knew that would be the biggest part of the budget and take the most work. We were still looking at places up until like 2 weeks before her birthday. So her birthday was the 7th of November, and I was still looking for places around Halloween. So it came together at the last minute. But again, I had my budget and I knew what I was looking for. Because I am such a planner and I'm someone that likes things sort of spelled out, I wanted to have things a little bit more concrete than I had them. But it ended up being wonderful. Like, I wanted a contract. I wanted to, do I need to put down a deposit? How is this going to work? So none of that happened. We had no deposit. We had no contract. I did pay in cash. So the place that we ultimately decided on was a Lebanese restaurant in a town close to us. And we were considering 3 other places at the time, like seriously considering. One had a full list of offerings, and it would be $45 or $55 a plate, exclusive of tax and gratuity and whatever service fees they would add on. So that's $45 to $55 per person just to start, like base minimum you're going to pay. So I was like, wow. So we knew we'd have about 20 to 25 people, and I'm like, that's kind of a lot. But there was a contract, and they seemed like they'd done this before, and they had the staff to do it. So I'm like, okay, that's one option. The second option was family friends, and not family friends, people my mom knew. And we visited the restaurant, and it was a little bit, not grimy, but a little bit like less than clean. And I'm like, I would rather give them a donation than go and have a party there in a place that's less than clean. The parking was also not the best. The third option that we ended up going with was, again, a restaurant in town that was pretty small. Like, the max capacity was 30 people. And it was just a very small storefront, but it had nice, convenient parking. So that was nice. And it was a type of the cuisine that we liked, that we had wanted. It was Mediterranean. The other 2 restaurants were like burgers. And that is not my mom. My mom's a Mediterranean cuisine kind of person. Her favorite is actually Thai, but of the 2 burgers or Mediterranean, she would choose Mediterranean. So we ended up going with that restaurant. And again, there was no contract or anything. The lady's like, sure, this is a quote. She quoted me $40, about $40 per person. And she's like, here, let me give you my cell phone number and you can text me. And I'm like, okay. So that's what we did. And there was no contract or anything, just about $40 a person, no deposit. I'm like, okay. So leading up to that, I was kind of nervous because I had, visions of her calling the night of and canceling or something like that, or being closed, like getting there and the restaurant not being open. And I'm like, okay, what's the worst that happens is we all as a group get together and go to another restaurant. So that's what I figured like our contingency plan was. Now for someone that's a planner like me, not the best, but I'm like, hey, it's the important thing is that we're together. So that's what we did. That's the restaurant that we went with. We also, we sent out an Evite. I sat down with my mom and we put together an Evite and sent it out. She had 20 people that she invited, and then there were other people that she passed the invite on, and it was just kind of a word of mouth, so-and-so is coming. And I'm like, sure, great. Because I tend to get very hung up in the details, and I didn't want this to be the case. I just wanted my mom to invite whoever she wanted to invite and have those people be included. So that is how we decided on the restaurant. So the next thing I wanted to do was have a cake, and I put in an order for a cake at a bakery. And again, I called the bakery to confirm, and I asked if they could do this style cake, and they're like, yeah, I'm not really sure, I need to talk to so-and-so. And so they did. And again, it was kind of uncertain, but I submitted a web order and was able to have my receipt. So that was handy. So we had the cake order in, and I was going to pick it up on the day of. So there's always logistics that happen on the day of. So here is what happened on the actual day, which was just yesterday. So I'm kind of still in like recoup mode of what I spent and how much absolute fun it was. That's just kind of the overwhelming theme of the day, is it was so much fun, and I feel like we really celebrated my mom. So on the day, what my mom wanted to do on her 70th birthday was to take a 6 a.m. yoga class with us, her daughters. My sister came up from Tennessee on Sunday, and she's like, I'd really like to do a yoga class with Anthony, her favorite instructor. And I'm like, okay. So on her birthday, all of us, me, my sister, and my 14-month-old daughter woke up at 5:30, and we got ready and we went to the yoga studio. So originally my sister was going to take the class and I was going to sit with my daughter, but my sister ended up sitting with my daughter, and I took the class. It's a hot yoga class. It was insanely warm. And I've taken yoga before. I have a pretty, I'd say, consistent practice now that I've got other demands on my time, and practice has been a little bit inconsistent, but it was good to take another class. It's very intense with the heat, but it felt fantastic. So I was happy to have taken that with my mom. So that's how we started out the day, is with a hot yoga class. We got a picture with the instructor. It was amazing. So that was the beginning. Then we just kind of relaxed at home. Then the party was at 6. At around 1:30, I went to go pick up the cake. I got some supplies from Dollar Tree, and then I went to go drop the cake off at the restaurant. And this was my call on this. I didn't let the restaurant know that we were coming in advance to drop off the cake. They were actually closed. So I got to the restaurant, and I texted them in advance, but I never got a response. But it was like, okay, I'll drive by, because the restaurant was fairly close to the bakery. I drove by, the restaurant was closed. There was a sign on the door that said opening at 5. And I was like, okay. So we took the cake home and stored it in the fridge. No big deal. And then, so we're getting ready, fast forward, and to go to the party. And at about 3:50, I get a call from the restaurant owner, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I pick up the phone, and the first thing she said was, I'm sorry. And I'm like, okay, like, what's going on? Like, I'm sorry, I can't do the party, I'm sorry. She said, I'm sorry, I missed your text about the cake. We're here now. Are you going to bring the cake with you? And I'm like, yes, we'll bring the cake with us. No problem. She's like, okay, see you in a little bit. And I'm like, thank God. That was all. Like, no big deal. So we all get ready, and by now it's about 4:30. We get ready, we get in the car. We're in the car by 5:15. So it takes half an hour to get to the restaurant. Thank goodness. We had to make some bathroom stops along the way. So we get to the restaurant by like 5:55, perfect timing. In the meantime, I'd stopped at a Dollar Tree and gotten just a couple balloons to put on the tables. And we'd also made 2 signs for my mom, one that said happy birthday with her picture, And then this was a thing that we did, of 70 things that we love about her, because it's my mom's 70th birthday. And we asked her sisters to contribute their favorite memories, their favorite things that they love about her. And my sister and I worked together to create 70 things that we loved about her. I threw it in Canva and we printed it out. And so we had those 2 signs to display at the restaurant. We brought those with us and we set them up. And then that was the day. Then the night was off and running. And there's always kind of that kind of awkward part in the middle where the first people are kind of trickling in. You're like, where do people sit? Because we didn't do assigned seating or anything like that. I just wanted people to feel free to sit where they wanted. The challenge with that is being like, okay, well, who sits where? And not a care at all, because everyone, all of her friends are just such good people and so good natured that they all, even though they were from very different walks of her life, different groups and different church events, church organizations, they all got along with each other. And it was just thrilling to have so many people, 24 people, including the little one, there to celebrate my mom. And it was just so amazing. So it started at 6, and again, with that awkward part, I was kind of nervous, but it went until I was supposed to be 6 to 8, but by 9:30, the restaurant's like, okay, guys, can you get a move on? They start like flickering the lights, because the restaurant owners had actually catered a party in the morning for 400 people, at which they did the serving themselves too. So they were ready to go home. And so it was family style. I wasn't sure. I didn't know kind of how to ask, like, how would it be, how would the food be served? But they did it family style and kind of put them out on the table, and people just took what they wanted. It was amazing. And the restaurant sent us home with leftovers, which was lovely too, because I asked for them. We sang all together and served the cake, and it was amazing. So we're heading home at 9:30, and then we got home, all changed, kind of got into our pajamas, and then my mother opened her presents, because this was a part that I was kind of not nervous about, but she had mentioned that people were asking what to get her because it was catered and we were providing the food. I guess that's kind of it's not an expectation, but the understanding is that you maybe bring a little remembrance for the birthday girl. And that's exactly what people did. And I was just so floored and thrilled and thankful that people honored my mom by bringing her presents. So it was just lovely. So we got home and she opened her presents, and it was like throwing a birthday party for a 7-year-old. You write down who got her what. So she got some just lovely things. So moving on to the financial part, and this is a part that you can't quantify happiness, but again, I wanted to do it debt-free within my budget as a way to honor my mom. And I think this was just perfect, but I will break down what I spent where. So here are the numbers. So the biggest expense was food. And again, I was quoted between 45 and 55 on the high end. And that was just baseline minimum I would have paid. So if I do, that was before gratuity. So if I do, that would have been a minimum of $1,080 plus gratuity on top of that. So this restaurant was only $40, and because they paid in cash, they didn't charge us a transaction fee. So all in, it was $10.26 for food. I left a $220 tip, so it was $12.46 for food total, and that's what I had budgeted. That's what I had known I was going to spend. The next expense was the cake, and I also got us cupcakes. We were going to serve cupcakes. I wasn't sure how many people were going to be there. I had ordered mini cupcakes, but they didn't have any mini they just didn't get that note. So we only had full-size cupcakes, and I thought, let's just not serve them. So we ended up taking them back home. The cake was $45. The cupcakes were $50. So all in, it was $95 for the cake. We printed signs that said happy birthday and had my mom's picture on them and the 70 things we love about you. That was $30 to print. We designed them ourselves on Canva Pro. So it's $30 to print, and then about $20 for the frames from Hobby Lobby. We also bought easels to display them, and I think we're going to return those easels. So that was $40, but ideally we will get that back. And then the last thing was the Dollar Tree. I stopped by and I got some balloons and some cards and some streamers and some happy birthday bags just to kind of lend a little bit of festivity, because I wasn't sure what the restaurant was going to do. So they just ended a little kind of air of celebration to the event. So that at the Dollar Tree was $34. So all in for a total of $14.25 total that I spent. And that was within my budget and exactly what I had wanted to do for her 70th milestone birthday, accepting what I would have loved to do, accepting my top tier, which would have been a trip, taking all of us on a trip, which I would love to do for her next milestone birthday. That's the next goal. So that's how much I spent on my largest discretionary expense of the year. And to be honest, I've been thinking about this all year, and it couldn't have gone any better. I'm really, really pleased with the way it turned out. So that's what we did for my mom's 70th birthday. That was my biggest expense, and that was how much fun it was. So I will try to insert some clips, some pictures, either somewhere throughout this or somewhere. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll keep watching.